SpongeBob SquarePants. This massively iconic show has been the center of children's entertainment for decades. From countless sponsorship deals, endless reruns, 3 feature-length films, and an infinite amount of memes, the cartoon created by a marine biologist defined the comedic humor of generations past and those to come. The lovable sea sponge and his friends made a show that we have all come to know and love. They are all known for their silly antics, complex character elements, and their creative storytelling devices. The way the first 3 seasons entertain children, but also related to adults, is what gives the show its timeless value, allowing us to enjoy it just as much when we grow up. However, there are many instances where they may have leaned too much into teetering that balance. Some scenes from SpongeBob stuck with me for years to come, and I wanted to find out why. To do so, I figured it would be best to make a video to go over everything that makes this show so weirdly terrifying. I'd like to ask you, what is the definition of horror? Well, a quick Google search will tell you an intense feeling of fear, shock, or disgust. Those exact feelings are completely littered throughout the first 3 seasons of SpongeBob and are disturbingly present more often than you may think. Undoubtedly, one of the most unnerving things to see in SpongeBob are its many still close-up shots filled with immense detail. I am going to put a picture on the screen and you tell me the first thing you feel when resting your eyes on it. This shot is from the episode Tea at the Tree Dome, in which SpongeBob is quite literally dying from thirst. The first immediate reaction is an utter shock to see such an unusually vivid 3D portrayal of dehydration in a 2D cartoon. Everything about this image leads back to what we discussed before: fear. To see such imagery is a rarity in a children's television show, especially within today's media. However, Steven Hillenburg's unique approach to storytelling has stood the testament of time to this day. But why would he have decided to lace all of those first 3 seasons with such horrifying visuals? Wouldn't you think this would turn children away? I think it is the complete opposite, as it gives not only the children but the adults a complete emotional experience with each and every installment. Here are a few more shots that are nothing but haunting. This last one really gives me chills due to the context of the image. This is supposed to be Mrs. Puff's husband, which is horrifying to think about. The dim yellow lighting gives it a sort of uncanniness, making it feel like something we shouldn't be seeing. It is a peer into the darker side of the writing team's minds. There are obviously countless more examples of this sort of imagery scattered throughout the entire show's runtime, but it is much more frequent in seasons Hillenburg was directly in contact with. But if you can believe it, this is not even the scariest aspect of SpongeBob or what makes this show truly as terrifying as it is.
Okay, SpongeBob, time to come back down and get to work so I can garnish your wages for wasting that patty.
Skip it up and down.
As we all know, there are an ungodly number of pure slappers in SpongeBob's OST. There are some of the most memorable musical compositions in entertainment history.
It's all about you, girl.
All of the songs are iconic for a reason, however. This is due to the effectiveness they all have to make us feel what we need to in every scene. Just think about how much the music truly impacts the emotional beats of the show. With that being said, there are definitely some extremely eerie tracks and sound effects used consistently throughout the show. I am going to play a portion of one of the creepiest songs from the OST, so prepare yourself. Creepy, right? This was originally used in the episode Rock Bottom, which is one of the show's most unsettling episodes. It is so effective, however, due to the context it was used in. It conveys a deeply isolated atmosphere, leaving the viewer with a feeling of desolation. This is a perfect song to use considering the environment for which the episode takes place, in the desert wasteland that is Rock Bottom. This next song I'm about to play for you, in my opinion, is the creepiest I have encountered in my research through SpongeBob's original soundtracks. While at daylight it may not be the scariest to listen to, I assure you, if you are alone in a dark room, it will make you feel deeply unsettled. With everything you've seen so far, you now have an understanding that there are many horror elements in all seasons of SpongeBob. Now I would like to discuss the mystery elements throughout Bikini Bottom. I am now going to show you the first clip.
Well, little Patty, we're two of a kind. We've both lost our luster. So that's what I taste like.
This is clearly insinuating Mr. Krabs is selling his own species and worsely cannibalizing his kind at this very moment. Many say this is just simply a coincidence or a joke, but why would he go out of his way to say this? It is a terrifying comment to mature minds that can logically process what the implications of that statement means, but it would most likely fly by most children's heads, which is uncomfortable to think that the writers would give a cannibalism joke to the adult audience that is watching. It is also one of the only clues we ever get as to what the ingredients of the Krabby Patty entail. I know, you may be asking, how can morbid reality play into a childlike show like SpongeBob? Well, one thing that is surprisingly consistent throughout the show that has always shaken my core is the commentary on torture. Sounds crazy, right? Well, just think about the most relatable character in the entire series, Squidward. Whilst having his few moments of glory and brief escape from his daily torments, most of the time Squidward's showings are never beneficial for him physically. For example, the episode with the sea bear or his ears being in constant pain listening to the people he can never escape from, his two immature neighbors. Whilst his physical pain is obviously used to generate a few laughs or legendary memes, the part about Squidward that has always disturbed me the most was his mental state throughout the series. We all know his personality to be the sad, depressed wannabe that has the talent but lacks the will. No other character throughout all of SpongeBob has had their layers unenveloped quite like Squidward. One of my favorite episodes with Squidward is Day Off. During this episode, Squidward is put in charge of the Krusty Krab for the day by Mr. Krabs, only to leave SpongeBob there alone. While walking back home to go on his vacation, he realizes what a terrible idea leaving someone as immature as SpongeBob to run the store alone is. The sequence that occurs on the first watch caused belly laughter. However, actually thinking about the implications of this sequence relating to Squidward's mind is insane. We see him drive himself crazy running back and forth, coming up with a new way SpongeBob could ruin the Krusty Krab. I think this scene points out one of the biggest aspects of Squidward's character, self-induced stress. Let's look at another scene with our favorite squid, the alone scene. Watching this with what I have previously said in mind, the one thing it took for Squidward to realize the root of all his problems was being completely isolated. Whilst being alone, he comes to realize that everything he's considered in his life to be a flaw or something that induces undesired stress was only due to his perception on his life. SpongeBob, for example, is the polar opposite in that regard, always having a positive outlook on the exact same mundane life Squidward lives. However, he has a happy life and finds joy in it. I think this entire exploration of the way we look at our lives is utterly brilliant and terrifying. Terrifying in the sense that if we live our entire short lives with a negative outlook on the world and fail to realize the significance of those and everything we have around us, then we will ultimately lead unfulfilled lives.